how are we expecting people to actually make these changes in conditions that are not like, and like, that seems super pessimistic, but like, I'm asking you like at this point of curiosity, because to me, like, again, at the end of the day, on my worst days, it's like harm reduction.
Right.
On my more hopeful days, it's like, oh no, we can change. Like, how do you like wrestle with all of that? Because I know that these are thoughts that you've had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a constant wrestling of, am I making a difference?
Sure.
I think, am I part of the problem? And by working with systems, am I actually
Mhm.
part of the problem? And so I think the approach of starting with staff, right? And so before we ask, so, we get this question a lot, well, there's no time to do anything else.
Mhm.
I agree. Um, and I think, our answer is like, we're not asking you to do anything. We are asking you to be possibly
Mhm.
something else. We are asking you to be more reflective about your own thoughts and feelings. It is not my belief that everyone should be keeping a circle, right? It's not everyone should be trained in circle keeping. I think everyone, if a building leader, if this is work that they want to do, then I do think it's a responsibility for everyone to know what it is, to give everyone the opportunity to learn about it. But whether or not people want to absorb that information is also like their right. Um, but I think when the focus on staff first, and I think, in a lot of schools, it is about the children because the children are easier.
Mhm.
um, as hard as sometimes it can be, their children are easier than the adults, right? Because now what you are asking is for someone who's had sometimes a very full life to like reflect on their own practices, their past, their present, um, and have I been in situations where I have caused more harm than
Yeah.
I've created? And I think like, so our approach is really identifying a leader who, and again, it can't just be, hey, here's me, I'm raising my hand, I want to do this work. It really has to be, you understand the commitment, you understand what is necessary, um, and and you communicate that it's a long road, and you have a vision for where you want your school to be. And I think that that's the hope part. There's a vision that we're working toward. We're not going to get there tomorrow or even next year, but there is a vision that we're walking this path together and we're going to get there. And if you start with the adults, um, and you identify there are going to be adults in the building who are like, this is what I've been waiting for. This, like being able to actually stop my class sometimes, being able to actually have conversations with students, being able to know my colleagues. This is why I came into teaching. You're going to have some of those staff members and you want to grab them immediately, right? All the training, all the things, send them to everything so they can learn more. You're going to have some people in the middle who are, I don't know what this is.
Mhm.
What is this thing they're asking us to do? Things come and go in education all the time. How long is this going to be around? They're not resistant. They're just waiting it out, right? But the more they see their friends and colleagues kind of engaging in behavior or showing up to school happy, or the culture of the building starts to change, like you walk into the building and people are talking to you, they're talking to you as an adult and smiling and asking you how your day was, how your evening was, what you did over the weekend, asking you about your own family. The culture changes, starts to change. You see bits and pieces, and then those people in the middle may get on board, right? Because they're like, okay, like I get it. Like I see it in practice. I just needed to see it. And there are going to be some staff members who just may be tired, right? Like maybe they can't do it, right? There may be some that don't want to do it, and maybe some really just can't, because self-reflection is hard work. It's not easy really to hold that mirror to yourself and really ask those tough questions and be reflective with all of your thoughts. And for some folks, they're just not in a space, or maybe they're not in the right space to be able to do that. And what I've seen eventually is sometimes, they were resistant, but as the culture shifts, you can still resist, but you're quietly resisting because now you're an outlier. Or sometimes they find a space that is, more in line with their own values, right?
Mhm.
Because, the values of the community have shifted to something else. Um, Or sometimes they just, kind of push through. Sometimes they come around, right? They're like, I want to be a part of this too. But you really do need someone who who I think, has those beliefs that it's not just that you're doing this thing, because I think there are a lot of things done in school that are very surface level
Yeah.
that don't really evoke the type of relationship building that we're talking about that we want people to have. And I think that for adults, I think, Cheryl always used to say that, people need to experience it themselves before we ask them to do it for someone else. And so I do think like part of the work of a building leader is really about what spaces are you creating for your staff? How are you modeling self-reflection for your staff? How are you modeling, oh, I messed up and admitting your mistakes to your staff? Like, how are you building community with your staff? Are you allowing your staff to take time away from the day and be in relationship with one another? The same thing we want for young people, because the work really does have to start there. And I think when it's done that way, there's a possibility, but I'm speaking like in an individual school community, because I do think then there's that next layer of how the system sometimes gets in the way. And so again, one of the reasons why this work is so difficult is because the system is not built for this work. And so we have to, in some ways, create these little mini systems inside schools that are operating differently.